Yes, hello. I just wanted to take this opportunity to discuss Elizabeth Warren and her questioning of Dr. Ben Carson. Some might look at what she had to say as a just a meaningless cheap shot, and I would say that probably from her perspective, that's exactly what it was. She wanted to, get up there and moan and groan about how bad Trump is. I guess it's inertia because that's what she's been doing the whole campaign. And actually, instead of actually putting something forthcoming and valuable out there, and to take Ben Carson's appointment and to just pollute it with that crap. People might sit there and say, Elizabeth Warren is just so distasteful, so disgusting. We enough for her. And Carson made that quip. I'm glad you're back. I was worried you weren't going to be back. But I wanted to say that I am glad that she's back. Believe it or not. She came out and she was saying that with Donald Trump appointing you, Ben Carson, to HUD, how can you ensure, with all of Donald Trump's real estate holdings, that he's not going to directly profit off of what you do? And you sit there and you go like, what? Or maybe you're on the other side, and maybe you're like, yeah, I mean, how could you have this really rich real estate developer running the country and then putting his good old boy in charge of HUD? I mean, I guess that's a pretty valid point. But they always, the dark side of the system always has a way of revealing itself, and it reveals itself so readily that it's almost like they rub it in your face. So when I look at Elizabeth Warren and I say, how can you ensure that Donald Trump isn't going to profit directly off of anything that you would do with HUD, I would say, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Because if I was the HUD director, this is the number one thing that I would want to address. And that is, if you're an elite billionaire and you have a place like HUD and you're a real estate developer and you're Elizabeth Warren and you're worried that billionaire real estate developer is going to directly profit off of HUD, I'm not going to get up here and say she's absolutely retarded. She's got to have some logic. I mean, she's an elected official. Doesn't she teach at MIT or something? She cracked the code for us right in our faces, and we don't even realize it. The rich billionaire real estate developers, these big conglomerate real estate companies, they are the ones that are making money off of HUD this whole time. In 1969, our poverty rate was at 12.5%. In 2015, our poverty rate was at 13.1. We've spent, it's not as much as food stamps, believe it or not. We spent roughly about $50 billion on the HUD budget every year in the Obama administration. And where is the money going? Is the money going to the single mother who's raising her kids and she's collecting Section, she's not even collecting Section 8. Her landlord is collecting Section 8. So where is that money going? That money is going straight directly to that rich real estate developer. So basically, Elizabeth Warren wanted to get up there and be all cute. And she beat herself. She outsmarted herself. She beat herself at her own game. And what she did was she exposed that these billions of dollars that we put out towards HUD to supposedly help the poor do nothing but line the pockets of the rich elite. Now, my favorite example, I have a lot of favorite examples, people like Menachem Stark in New York City and stuff like that. But my absolute favorite example, and, if you're a liberal, you're probably going to turn this off right now when I tell you this. My favorite example is Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling has massive Section 8, low-income, assisted, housing assistance projects in Compton, Los Angeles. So when Donald Sterling said some off-color comments and, was talking to his girlfriend and he was just being an idiot, but he was exposed as a racist, they had no problem coming in taking his NBA team away from him. Like, yeah, dude, you're a racist. The NBA is pretty much like, I don't know what the percentage is. It's pretty much black. And we have no tolerance for a racist. I mean, never mind that he hired a black coach. Never mind this. Never mind that. The guy's a racist, and he has to lose his NBA team. Fine. But why doesn't he have to lose his real estate holdings, his HUD holdings, his public housing holdings that he makes direct money off of for every single family, person, anybody living in those projects? I pay out of my taxes. That taxes goes to an allotment for this person, and that allotment, the financial asset, goes straight to Donald Sterling. How come the left didn't say, hey, not only are we going to take your NBA team away from you for being a racist, but we're also going to take your public housing away from you for being a racist too? I mean, that's one of the questions I have. I mean, I thank you. I appreciate it, Elizabeth Warren, because you really, really, really managed to outsmart yourself. You exposed how HUD and all the assets of HUD get filtered into the billionaire elite's hands. I applaud you. That was a very heroic thing. I'm really not that against you, because you also had something else really bright to say. And what you said was this. You said that we have a huge problem with lead poisoning and lead lines in the water. I mean, it's not even in low-income communities. I did a geothermal system in the West Village in a house that's worth probably $20 million today. And they had a lead line going into their house. And their next-door neighbor was on the same line, a weird building situation. And the kids had their health problems. So I really applaud you on bringing that up. I think that's an important thing, a very clever and well-placed item to bring up when you're talking about the great Dr. Ben Carson's appointment to HUD. And Ben Carson referred to there being 310,000 cases. Now, maybe I didn't pay attention enough, or maybe he just didn't have the time to allude it. I don't know if it's 310,000 kids that are sick. I don't know if it's 310,000 buildings that have lead lines. I would imagine it's more. But Elizabeth Warren asked Carson, what are you going to do to clean this up? I don't want to pay for it. All right. I didn't, I am a licensed plumber. I didn't dig up the streets and put in lead lines to people's houses. I didn't do that 100 years ago. You're probably a copywriter, an editor, a nurse. You didn't put in lead lines. You're not going to profit off of this. Why do I have to pay for it? And I think the change that has to be made in America is this. The people that are actually benefiting off of those properties are the ones that have to pay for it. Now, I'm not talking about the person who's living in it. See, Elizabeth Warren referred to this as a Northeast issue with older infrastructure. So the housing markets in the Northeast have skyrocketed. So here's three scenarios, I would say. Or maybe there's four. The first people that should have to pay for a new lead water line going into the house are the banks that have the mortgage on the property. I'm sorry, but you know what? In reality, you're the one who owns the property, right? And the property that you own could potentially be offering harm to its residents. Now, that guy has to live there for 30 years for you to profit tenfold off of the property that he bought. The least you could do is reach into your filthy little pockets and pay for them to have a clean, safe water line. Now, there's other people. There's people that maybe, all over New York, yeah, we have public assistance, we have housing projects, we have this, we have that, but we also have these big, beautiful apartment buildings that have been in people's families for generations, and they're either selling them off as condos or they're making rent, like ungodly amounts of rent. I mean, maybe there's one or two rent control issues that are still around, but most of them are getting bought out. So you have these rich people who are very land rich, let's say. Okay, you have this amazing building that you own flat out, and you're going to be making gazillions of dollars off of it. And you got a lead line going to it. Fix it. Fix the thing. Okay, so we got banks. We got regular people who are fortunate enough to own property in cities, okay? And then we got the Donald Sterlings of the world, the Menachem Starks of the world, I want to say a couple real estate property managers that I know of in New York in my years of being a plumber, but why expose them? There's plenty of these big-time real estate conglomerates that either own the property because they're dealing with Section 8 income, own the property because they're rich enough to own it. Okay, well, for the last 40, 50 years, you've absolutely been ignoring the fact that you got a lead line going into the house. I mean, you should even just see some of the galvanized lines and all the rusted pipes and everything. You got lead lines going in the house. Well, buddy, you own this gazillion-dollar building. Spend the $50,000 if it even costs that much. Dig up the freaking street and put in a new line. Hello? And then, then you got, I guess you have, city housing authorities and the people that own the land or own these buildings for public assistance. So here's what you do, because I'm not paying for it. I mean, I'll go put in the new line. You'll make tax dollars off of that. I don't understand why the government doesn't see it like that. All the government needs to see is, oh, well, somebody's going to put in a new plumbing line. Underground plumbing costs a boatload of money, and we're going to tax them at a decent percent. Cool. They can't look at it like that. Nope. So that's what I say. I say the banks that have a mortgage on the property, they should have to change it. The person who owns the building flat out, change your lead line, bro. We don't need a government program. I mean, look what happened to all the government programs for green energy in the Bush administration. Gonzo. See you later. Bye. They just went away. Everyone was standing there like, oh, well, I'm waiting to find out what kind of tax rebate I'm going to get, this, that, the other thing. Once the banks stole all our money in the 2007, 2008 horse and pony show, there was no more green. I mean, unless they were siphoning off money to that big solar plant in Vegas, in Nevada or whatever, there's no more money for green. All of a sudden, do you know how behind the eight ball I am? Because I live in this supposed meritocracy of this bureaucracy. Well, let's just call it a bureaucracy. Do you know what I mean? I gotta pay for somebody else's water line, for some rich mofo's water line in a building that he owns. I'm sorry. I just don't see where that's appropriate. Thank you.